Okay, welcome everyone to the final week 8 in your composition course. It's great to have all of you with us here live and also all of you listening in on the recording. Tonight we're going to discuss your final assignments in this composition course. So if my audio is okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on discuss, and we will see your first assignment, which is the discussion board. This discussion board is all about your writing process. So let's go down here and take a look at the actual assignment. Write about a page, 3/4 of a page, to one of the prompts below, and as always, to get full credit, you need to respond to at least 2 classmates. Now, here are the 3 items that you should address in your primary discussion post. These are reflective topics. This is often the case at the end of a course where students are asked to look back upon the course and reflect upon their learning. This is done for a very specific reason. It has been shown through numerous studies that the most important way to cement learning, to really impress it upon the right cerebral hemisphere, is to reflect back upon it. And there's something about that reflection process that really does accentuate the learning. And so that's what you're being asked to do here. In this first prompt that you see, you are asked to describe, and by the way, you should be seeing my screen at this point. If you're not, please let me know. In the first prompt, you are asked to describe your strengths and challenges in regard to your writing prior to the course. In other words, what were your major trouble spots, your major sore spots, your major bruises, your major fears prior to coming into the course? And then once you've established that, answer this question. How has your writing changed? Explain. Maybe it's changed a little, maybe it's changed a lot, maybe it's changed in some areas but not in other areas. You want to kind of think through, reflect back upon any kind of changes you've had, especially in your attitude toward writing, as well as the different skills that we hope that you have acquired during this course. So those are your strengths and challenges prior to the course, and then explain how those have changed. Another reflection question is, how does this class prepare you for your writing in your future career as a nurse? This is kind of tricky. This is a very important question for the course designers at the school to pay attention to. And this is the kind of end of course evaluation that they do like to read. And that is, this is what's called a service course. We are serving with a writing course a very specific set of students in preparation to receive their nursing certification. So you will be looking at your writing instruction that you acquired or received in this course through a very specific lens. And that lens is, how did this help prepare me for my career as a nurse? That is the lens that you look at this course through. Okay. And then the last question concerns the writing process. Remember, the writing process consists generally of 4 steps. Pre-writing, everything you do to get ready to write. Drafting, that initial kind of vomit out on the page of the words and your ideas. Then the revision and proofreading. Revision being the 3rd stage, and then proofreading, editing being the last stage. Supposedly, you are now more aware of those 4 stages, and you're more aware and more likely to pay attention to the things you need to pay attention to during those stages. For example, in the opening stage of pre-writing, and even in the 2nd stage of drafting, you should not pay any attention to sentence structure, grammar, syntax, correctness. That is not when you pay attention to those things. In that stage of drafting, you're focused on one thing and one thing only, getting out your thoughts, generating content that meets the assignment instructions. So that is an example of how supposedly you've learned to focus on one thing at a time in the drafting and composing stage, the revision stage, and the editing and proofreading stage. Hopefully you're now able to divide up your process into those at least 3 to 4 steps. As usual, the due dates have not changed since the beginning of the course. Your initial post to the discussion board is due on Wednesday, and then your 2 responses, substantive responses to classmates, due by Saturday midnight. Okay, so let's stop there and see if you have any questions about what is due on this discussion board. So kind of turning it over to you now, and let me know if you have any questions. Speak right up, or you can also type them in the chat window. Checking the chat window, don't see anything. Yeah, I think these assignments are pretty clear. Let's go on to this next assignment. And this is the big deal. This is what you've been working for throughout the course. So let's take a look at it. It is assignment number 8, the research paper, final. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? The final solution. Well, no piece of writing is ever completely done. You can always go back to any piece of writing you've done and improve upon it, make changes. However, there are times when you must say, wait a minute, that's it. I got to turn this in, or I've got to submit it, or I've got to send it to the publisher, or whatever you've got to do. We have to draw these arbitrary deadlines. And that's what you're doing here with this research paper. I want you to know that you've written this research paper in a very condensed period of time. Got to let somebody in. You've written this research paper in a very condensed period of time, just a matter of a few weeks. Well, that's probably not long enough to do your very best work. And certainly as your instructor, when I sit down to grade, I'm going to take that into consideration, that this was a highly compressed period of time and that you've only had a few weeks to work on it. So keep that in mind. Final can be very arbitrary, and certainly it is in this case. I hope that the kind of work that you've done on this research paper is something that you can continue to work on in the future by revisiting it, adding more sources to it, maybe changing the focus, reordering the paragraphs, whatever. Keep this, and reuse parts of it if that is at all possible. But that is what is due this week, the final paper. Now, here are some example papers, and they're pretty good. I want to go over them quickly with you, and I want you to see things that make sense for you at this school with this assignment and things that don't. So let's look at this first one here, the sample student essay PDF. This one is called... Whoa. For some reason, this page is not opening up. Let me see what I got to do here. Wow. We might not be able to look at this paper. We're only looking at a very small screen there. Did not have this problem in the last class. Well, let's do the best we can, huh? So a couple things to point out. Remember that you need a main title, branching paths, then a colon, that's 2 dots, space, and then a subtitle. That's the general standard for academic papers, and especially for academic papers written in your field of healthcare. So keep that in mind. a two-part title, main title, and which kind of attracts attention, sets up interest, and then the subtitle, which explains very clearly what the paper is about. Here you see a novel, which means new in this case, a new teacher evaluation model for faculty development. It's very clear what's going to be in this paper. Then comes your info block, and notice that you need to have the following things: your name, as well as middle initial. You are in the Department of English at Parker University. Arizona College of Nursing, excuse me. The P there threw me off. You are in English 101. It is first year writing. That's fine. It's also called composition. I am Dr. David Taylor, and you will be putting your due date on there. Got a second, got to let somebody in. Okay. Scrolling on down, you'll see that that is the only information that is placed on that title page. Besides the page number, I forgot to mention that APA didn't used to be the case with APA, but now APA allows page numbers on the first page or title page. So you can simply go to page numbering in your Microsoft Word document, and you don't have to worry about different numbering on first page. You just let it go from page 1 on, and you're good to go. Okay, here's the first body page. A couple things to point out to you in this first body page. You do need to repeat your full title at the top of your first body page, and that is 1 inch below the top of the page, which is your margin. 1 inch is 1 inch all around in APA. 1 inch at top, 1 inch at bottom, 1 inch left and right. So you do repeat the title, and it is bold-faced, just like it was on the title page. And then comes your introduction. Now, a couple things I want to point out about this introduction. Let me slide this over a little bit. A couple of things I want to point out about this introduction is the introduction is a kind of wide open case for you. The introduction just consists of nothing magical, simply a set of sentences, 3 to 4 sentences, that lead to your thesis. That's the purpose of an introduction. You don't have to do anything more fancy than that in your introduction, other than to write 3 to 4 sentences that set up, lead to your thesis statement. That's it. Now, this, of course, being a research class, you are presented with, bring this up a little bit, an introduction that actually uses some sources in it. Okay, that's fine. We begin with according to Thiel. Let's go ahead and recognize what's going on here. Remember, we call this a signal phrase. Remember, you can't have your sources just drop out of the sky and land on your paper like manna from heaven. Anytime you use a source, it must be integrated with the rest of the paragraph. So this, according to, helps to integrate the source. We're saying, I want to present to you this statement from this authority named Thiel, 2017. Notice that this is an APA in-text citation. An APA in-text citation always consists of the author's last name only. No middle initials, no first name, last name only. And then the year number in parentheses, if the author's name was mentioned in the sentence. So this is what is called a running citation, in that part of it is in the sentence, the author's last name, and part of it is in parentheses. That's as opposed to a parenthetical citation in which both the author's name and the year is in parentheses. Here, I'm pointing down to, just want to jump down here quick. Here you see parentheses, Wilson, 1998. And that is a full parenthetical citation where both the author's name and the year are in parentheses. And that's fine. You can do it either way. What you want to do is kind of mix and match throughout your paper, as opposed to a narrative in-text citation. And it's called narrative because the author's name is a part of your narrative, your writing. Okay. Also notice that you set off a quotation with a comma or a colon. That must be there. A comma or a colon to set off all quotations, direct quotations. The entire quotation is bracketed by quote marks. Let me point you to this little thing right here. Those 3 dots right there are called an ellipses or ellipsis. Each one is an ellipsis. 3 of them together are called ellipses. And the 3 dots indicate that you have edited the direct quotation. You have left out words in the direct quotation. It doesn't mean you've changed the direct quotation, other than to extract certain words which you don't feel are important. Otherwise, the direct quotation is verbatim, except the ellipses indicate I've extracted certain words. And you're welcome to do that. Now, because this is a direct quotation in APA, you must have a page or paragraph number. Always use a page number. If the source you're citing, or quoting, I should say, does not have a page number, you put in a paragraph number. What is a paragraph number? You simply count the number of paragraphs manually until you get the one that contains the quote that you're borrowing, and you number it from the first paragraph in the source, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you write para.7. That means paragraph 7. Okay, so I think we have covered that. You must have a page number or paragraph number for a direct quotation. Now, after that direct quotation comes another use of a source. This time, instead of it, this thing keeps capturing all of them. This time, there you go, got it that time. Instead of the direct quotation, this time we have a summary. Both are the only, put together, are the only 2 ways that you can use a source. You can either quote from it, as happened in the first sentence from Thial, or you can summarize it using a paraphrase of it. You will have to repeat certain key words, by the way. So don't worry about if you repeat key words. Just, you can't have the same sentence structure. And a paraphrase of a source, you simply put in the author's last name in your publication. A paraphrase at this school does not require a page number. However, earlier this year, APA put out a notice on their website that you should include page numbers even with a paraphrase, even with a summary. So, if you want to go Lewis, 1996, page number, you're welcome to do so, because that is now in the cards when it comes to APA. We'll enlarge this a little bit more. So all of this information in this sentence right here, and only the information in that sentence, was taken from Lewis and was put into the student author's own phrasing. And then the rest of it is from the student, including this thesis statement. I'll get it in a second. There it is. It measures as diverse as peer observations, development of teaching portfolios, and student evaluations. And that's indeed those 3 things: peer observations, teaching portfolios, student evaluations. Those are the 3 things that are going to be covered in this paper. So remember that for your thesis statements. Try to work in your 3 main points, your 3 paragraph topics. And that's what we do here. One such measure, the Student Evaluation of Teacher, SET, and that's called your topic sentence. Your topic sentence announces the topic of that paragraph. And so, remember, the student has done a lot of work on this issue of student evaluations, so by all means, summarize and quote from your sources. That's what they're there for. They help you write your paper. As long as you observe the difference between a summary and a quotation, you're good to go. But whether it's a summary or a quotation, it must be cited. The records of SCT-like instruments can be traced to work at Purdue in the 1920s, and that's a fact that was taken from Reimers and Brandenburg, 1927. Notice that in-text citation came in the middle of the sentence, not at the end. Why? Because you put citations wherever they're needed, not just the end of a sentence, or not just at the end of a paragraph, God forbid. In-text citations go whenever and wherever you use a source. Okay. And then the student goes on to do some more summarizing. And this summarizing, that kind of longish half sentence, actually takes material from 3 different sources. Gaff and Simpson, 1994, semicolon. Lewis, 1996, semicolon. Why didn't we use a year after Lewis? Because we've already given the year for Lewis. Oh, excuse me, it does use the year. I'm sorry. The student didn't have to give the year there, by the way. I just assumed the student did it correctly. Oh, sorry. The student didn't have to give the year because the year from the source was already given up there, and there's only one Lewis in this paper. And then Makichi, 1996. So, if you see the same information repeated in several different sources, what do? You don't plagiarize it. You quote all of the sources in which you found it. In this case, that information was found in those 3 sources. And so that's what's in the citation. It's really that simple. You really cannot cite enough, or too much, I should say. Okay, here you're going to see a sentence in which you should already recognize what's going on. The 3 dots, what do they stand for? Words from the original that were left out. You see that happens twice. One has brackets because there were a lot of words left out that we're now moving on to another part of the sentence, or maybe even to another sentence. That's what those brackets indicate. And all of that was taken from this source, Pounder, 2007, page 178. And indeed, if you go to the last page of the paper, you'll see both of those sources in the list of references on the end in alphabetical order. Long paper. So let's go down here to Pounder. Oh, correct. For the sake of preventing references, I'm going to omit it. Oh, thanks very much. That really helps. That really helps. But anyhow, whenever you see a in-text citation, you should know automatically in your mind that it's going to refer to the full and complete reference citation, alphabetized on the reference list, and that's what they're called in APA. At the end, the thing is not called a bibliography. That's something completely different. It's called simply references. And that's what you see here. Somewhat abbreviated. Okay, let's go back up to where we left off. By the way, I'm going to end this kind of methodical review after I finish this paragraph. Today, SATs play an important role in teacher assessment, faculty endearment at most universities. Where did that come from? Well, it came from a specific source. If the student read it and encountered it in more than one sources, there would be more than one source cited there. Recent SAT research practically takes the presence of some form of assessment on most campuses as given. Okay. Now, big question for you. There was not an in-text citation after that sentence. Oh my God. All it means is that conclusion, that statement, is something the student learned. It is owned by the student. This student has learned through doing all this SAT research that they are taking the form of some form of assessment. That's going to happen. Student evaluations come with an assessment form. And that was a conclusion the student reached on her own. Okay. Let's talk about et al. Et al is the Latin abbreviation for et alos. Excuse me, that's Greek. Et alos is Greek. Et alla is Latin. And it means and others. AL period is the abbreviation for alla or allos. Others. Et tu brute versus the Latin word for and. So, when do you use et al? When you have more than 3 authors. That should be noted over here. I guess it isn't. Yeah. Instead of listing all of the authors when there are like more than 3, more than 4, you'll be running into some sources that have 6 or 12. Please use et al. Okay. And again, there's a quotation. And we must have a page number or a paragraph number for a quotation. And then, similarly, Darwin, here we've introduced a new source, Darwin 2012. And these are what are called spot quotes. See this word venerated? How only the word venerated is quoted? How only the word axiomatic is quoted? Those are called spot quotes. And you can use spot quotes to highlight key terms or key phrases or sentences that really stand out as having some value in terms of the way they were written or the kind of insight that they provide. So if you want to spot quote key terms, key phrases, that's how to do it. It's done just like a normal quote, except it's only for one word or several words in the case of a phrase. All right, so I think, oh yes, we do have to do this, the as cited in. I've had this question before, and I want to go ahead and address it. So you're reading a source, right? And the source that you're reading quotes this other source or references this other source. And this other source you really, really like. And you want to use that information from the second source that the first one quoted or the first one summarized. What do? Well, first you go look for the original. And if you can't find the original, you do what is called a secondary citation. A secondary citation, also called an as cited in citation, goes like this. Here is the source that you really, really like, but you couldn't find. So you have to give credit to the original source, but you also have to give credit to where you actually found it. So something 1993, so it was probably out of print. It's so old. That's like almost 30 years ago. So things can be pretty hard to find after 30 years. So you found it in something a little bit more recent. And that's how you do it. If you couldn't find Selden, you can still use Selden, but you have to tell where you really found it. And that's called a secondary source citation. One other kind of citation I want to point out. This is called a corporate citation. In other words, it didn't have a named author. Instead, the company, the corporation, in this case a government entity, was the author. What do? You can't say no author or anonymous. You use the name of the corporation or you use the name of the government department who was responsible for the source. Okay, there's other stuff you've already seen. Boring et al.'s, Galbraith et al.'s, and others. You've seen all that. Okay, so I just wanted to take you through some of the kind of intricacies of an APA document, how to handle some of these sources that you're coming across. And let me pause for a moment. I know we've covered a lot of geography here. Let me pause for a moment and see what questions you have of the things that we've covered. So it's all perfectly clear to you, huh? Or maybe it's so opaque that you are scared or don't even know how to ask a question about it. But please ponder these things and let me know if there are any questions. By the way,
what is that?
Whoa!
I'm sorry.
That's my fault. Oh, that's my fault. Oh, let me turn that down. I'm sorry. Woo! Oh my God! It was all the way up. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Please, who was that? Yosef, was that you?
Natisha.
Hey, Natisha, I'm very sorry about that. I have no idea how my volume got turned up like that. Go ahead, please.
No, I was asking. I just wanted to ask. So, do we have until Saturday to turn the paper in, or is it due today?
Oh no, you have until the last day of the class to turn it in. Let's look at what it says here. Am I still in the meeting? Do you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. I'm trying to get back to our classroom. It got shut down as we were having fun over there. Okay, here we go. And the question was, when is this baby due? And if it says that it's due today, we're going to change that right away. I don't think it's due today. Due date listed at the top of the page. It's due when all of your other assignments are due at the end of the week.
Okay, I just didn't see it on there. I just wanted to make sure.
Me either. So thank you for asking that question. I didn't see it either. You know, all it says is the final research essay is due during week 8. So I guess we can decide upon what day it's due. It's due the last day of class. Fantastic. And here's some other guidelines for it, in case you want to go over them. I think most of them you already know. APA 7th edition. What about 750 to 1,000 words? Thesis statement. We went over the thesis statement. Got to list those main points. Microsoft Word document, etc., etc. Okay. Now, the main thing, how much time are we doing here? Okay. I got to kind of hit the gas here a little bit for you guys. Citations. You'll be glad to hear that students no longer have to worry about, fret about, lose sleep over, much less lose points over citations. Why do I say that? Because today there are things called citation machines. They're not actually machines. I wish they were. I wish there was something we could feed it into, like paper into a paper shredder. But they are programs. They're web programs. Now, I want you to use a citation machine to format your citations. The one that I did the demo, you're welcome to use any citation machine, by the way. And I think in a previous announcement, let me look, a previous announcement, I listed the 5 best citation machines. Scribber is a great one, and it's free. MyBib, it's okay, especially if you have to turn in a bibliography along with it. BibGuru, I don't know much about it. Zotero Bib, I think it's a little clunky. My favorite is Citation Machine, and so that's what I did the video on. And so if you go to the announcements, which I'm waiting for to come up, here they come. I did a video on how to use the citation machine. Now, if you know how to use one of these citation generators, believe me, you know how to use all of them. I promise. So let me just kind of run through some
This is a brief
aspects of that.
tutorial on the Son of Citation Machine.
So this is called Citation Machine or Son of Citation Machine. It's changed names a couple of times. And here's how you use it. The first thing you do is choose your format type. As you guys know, you are writing an APA paper. And so that's the first thing that you want to do is to choose APA. Excuse me, that's the second thing you do. The first thing you do is to choose what you're. I need to pump this up. You know what? I've got this uploaded on my desktop. Let me do that instead of trying to fumble through all this kind of thing. Oh gosh, I did have it pumped up. Oh gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry.
One thing your instructors will look deeper into is AI usage.
Okay.
Grammarly isn't replacing the writing process for us, but helping us along the way. But just
Whose submissions are reviewed by experts
Okay.
in a process called
I think I still need to bring that down a little bit. Okay, here we go. So this is Citation Machine or Son of Citation Machine. And the first thing you do is to choose your source type. And you can see the 7 source types up here. Book, magazine, newspaper, website. Now you're going to be dealing mainly with journals and magazines. Now you need to know the key differences between a journal and a magazine. And those key differences are, and they're explained here. A journal does not have advertising. It's written by experts and it's peer-reviewed. Most of all, if you look on the library record, it will say what that source is. If you kind of look down at the bottom, it'll say source type, and it'll say magazine, journal, newspaper, website, etc. Now the key is, or the problem becomes in knowing the difference between a magazine and a website. In academic writing, you want to focus on journals. You can use magazines, but you can only use magazines for like illustrative examples. And magazines are not necessarily seen as credible or as expert as journals. And that is because of the three reasons that you see here. They're written for consumers as opposed to written for other experts. Magazine articles are not peer-reviewed. To be published in a peer-reviewed journal, it has to go through several reviews by several experts until all the possible errors and miscalculations are taken out of it. So you can use magazines, you can use journals, but I just want you to know the difference, especially when it comes to how credible they are. Now, to use the citation machine, the first thing you do is to select your source type. I've selected journal, and then your formatting type. And you notice that APA is in red up there. So that means that I've clicked on APA and I've clicked on journal. Now, in this demonstration video, I did not use autofill mode. But autofill mode... So go ahead.
Now you choose between autofill mode.
Sorry. By mistake, I started the video. Autofill mode is great. If you can take the title of that journal article, and it's only journal articles, by the way. You can take the title of that journal article and you can paste it in there and click on search, and it will take you directly to how to cite that journal article. This is one of the reasons that I like Citation Machine so much. You simply select your citation format, APA. You simply select the type of source it is, journal or magazine or website. And then you select whether you want autofill mode or manual mode. Remember, autofill is only available if it's a journal. You click it in there, you paste it in there, you click search, and it will pop it right up. Now, in case you do have to use the manual mode as opposed to the autofill mode, you will see all these blanks. When you use autofill mode, these blanks will be filled in for you. But in case it's manual, you have to fill in the blanks yourself. And they're pretty easy. The author, first name, last name. So you go back to your source. And in this case, the author, as you can see here, is Michael Jones. You copy Michael Jones. You go back and put in Michael Jones wherever it belongs. And you just do that several times. We've only got one author, so we're going to click one author. And that's it. Now we're ready for the next step. And the next step is the article title. So you should have two screens open on your computer. One is for Citation Machine, and the other is for what you're trying to cite from the library. And you flip back and forth. So now I'm going to flip over to the article open on my screen, and I'm simply going to copy and paste the title of the article. I copy and paste it. I go back to Citation Machine. I paste in the title. Now, here's a really important point. Library search engines do not use APA capitalization because people who are using the library are using Harvard, they're using AMA, they're using APA, they're using MLA. So the library only gives you a kind of standardized title. You have to format the title in APA style yourself. And so that means you treat it like a sentence, capitalizing only the first word in any proper noun. And remember, this colon
would capitalize
is considered a sentence. It's considered a period, just like a period at the end of a sentence. So that means you capitalize the first word after it. So remember that. If you've got a two-part title, main title, subtitle separated by the colon, the second title capitalizes the first word, but all the rest of them are treated like words in a sentence. Okay, let's continue on. Once you get that in there, you go back and grab the journal title, So I'm going to grab the journal title, and then I just paste that baby in there. As you can see, I grabbed Widener Law Journal, and then I go in and paste in Widener Law Journal. Same thing with volume number and issue number. Now let me explain to you about volume number and issue number. Okay. Volume number usually refers to the year. In other words, the Widener Law Journal has a volume, a collection of all of its issues published during 1 year, and that becomes a bound volume on a library shelf. Librarians, instead of having magazines and journals all over the place, they send them off and get them bound year by year. So that whenever you go to find something from 2009, you go looking for the volume for 2009. And that happens to be, in this case, volume 18. And when you open up that book of all the collections of the Widener Law Journal published in 2009, you're looking for issue number 2. Depending upon how many times it's published. If it's quarterly, there are only 4 issues. If it's monthly, there are 12 issues. If it's bi-monthly, it's 6 issues. And then the next part is the page numbers that you will find the source on. And you simply go back to your citation machine and you fill in the volume number. And then you fill in, if there is an issue.
If you're earning 7 figures and still using a basic box-checking CPA,
I'm so sorry.
you're leaving over...
For the reference
I'm
citation.
so sorry. Type YouTube ads. Okay, so here we go. I filled in the issue number. It's the second issue for that year. I filled in the page numbers. You do not use PP or P when filling in the page numbers for Citation Machine. Citation Machine will put them in for you. And then the DOI. DOI, as you know, stands for Digital Object Identifier. It's like the card catalog number for magazines. You know, all books in a library have a card catalog number. And you have to go to those big card catalogs, big old machines that you have to scroll through, for a half hour till you find the book you're looking for. Well, magazines and journals have numbers too. So if they're not called a card catalog number, CCN, they're called a DOI, Digital Object Identifier. And so you have to find the Digital Object Identifier for your magazine or journal, and you'll see either it has one or it doesn't have one. Now here,
Magazines and news.
you are seeing an ISSN. That's International Standard Serial Number. Well, Citation Machine isn't asking for an International Standard Serial Number. It's asking for a DOI. This magazine, Widener Law Journal, doesn't have one. So you skip over it. Anything that you don't find about your source the Citation Machine is asking for, you simply leave it blank. And so that's what I'm going to do with DOI. I'm going to leave it blank. And I go to the next part, which is where I found it. Because you're an online student, whenever you access magazine and journal articles, you're going to be accessing them in a database. Unless you went to the Arizona College of Nursing library, went in through the front doors, went into the stacks, and pulled that magazine or journal off the shelf and held it in your hands. That's the only way that you can say it was print, is if you're looking at the print object in your hands. Online means the web. You're not going to use that. You want to use database. Let's continue on. So you circle database. Next, if you find a publisher, more power to you. You put it in. If you don't find a publisher, if there is no DOI, you put in the home page of the URL, the homepage URL of the journal. And that's what we're going to do here. You go back and get the homepage URL of that journal. And once you've got that, skipping over some stuff here, you're ready for the publication date. Now you've got to flip back and forth between your screen and the library's record screen, and you put in year, day, and month. Now, not everything you find is going to have a month and a day. It has to have a year or a sequence of years. If it doesn't have a month, leave it blank. If it doesn't have a day, leave it blank. Anything that you can't find, leave it blank. Now, one thing that you can't leave blank is the date that you accessed it. That means the date you found it, the date you used it. So your date of access is going to be 10/something 2026. The year 2026, 10 the month, and then whatever day it is. Then you click on Make Citation. The gears are going to turn, and voila, comes your citation. And there it is, your reference citation. Notice that it does not use hanging indentation, although it does use italics. So you're good to go with this citation, except for putting in hanging indentation. It's very hard to do hanging indentation on the web. A lot of different codes that you have to put in. So that's your reference citation. And then you will also see a parenthetical citation, in other words, how you cite it within your paper. There's the parenthetical citation. Be sure to copy it and keep it. There's the copy button. It will copy it to your desktop. So you zip on over to the Microsoft Word page that you have open. Remember, 1 inch is all around. Remember, the title of the page has to be References. Remember that References is bolded and centered. And then everything is double spaced between. So on that reference page, you simply paste in that reference. Notice that it's not double spaced yet, and it doesn't have hanging indentation. So you're going to have to add hanging indentation. And if you should be using Times New Roman. If you're not using Times New Roman, you're going to have to change the font of that citation to match the rest of your paper. But I encourage everybody to use Times New Roman 11 or 12 point. And that's what I'm using, and that is what Citation Machine uses. That's why I've been advocating for you to use it in your papers. One of the reasons. You do have to go ahead and double space it, and then you use your little hanging indentation tool up at the top to create your hanging indentation. Whoops, excuse me, didn't mean to go over there. It is. To create your hanging indentation. That's 10 spaces from the left margin, by the way. You can do it with your space bar, but it's going to mess things up eventually. If you hit the boom, 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 boom 10 times, it's going to mess things up. So try to use this little tool right up here. This is called the Hanging Indent tool in Microsoft Word. You just click it and move it left or right. Whoops. Okay. Or again, remember it's double spaced and hanging indentation. So, use the citation machine. It's going to take a little getting used to. I suggest having this how-to video open and that you follow along with the how-to video because it's too much information for you to remember. So have the how-to video open and kind of listen to the how-to video. Do the step it's telling you to do before going to the next step. Take a very methodical, step-by-step approach to doing these citations, and you'll be fine. Okay, let me pause here. No, I can't pause here. We're out of time. I'm very sorry. Look, if you guys have any questions, I know we're out of time here. I only get 1 hour on this Teams program, so I apologize for that. I'm supposed to be increased to 1.5 hours, but I haven't been yet. So, if you have any questions, please know that if you email me the question, I'm at my desk all day until, what is it? It's almost 8 o'clock. And that's when I get finished, and I will try to answer your email within 24 hours or less. Okay, let me pause here, and you guys ask away. Floor is yours. Keep in mind that these videos are available for you in your classroom in the announcements area. There they are, right there. That's it. Okay, well, I think it's like Cinderella at the ball. There it is. It's gone.